Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In today's video, I'm putting together my Project Life spread for June 13th through June 19th, 2026 when we were visiting Banff, Alberta, and I'm using the Summer Avenue collection from Coco Daisy. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so this is the week, or not really week, that we went to Banff, which is a national park in Alberta, Canada. We also went to Jasper National Park during the same week, and we also spent a day in Missoula and a day we stopped in Calgary, and those didn't make any of my pictures, which is fine. So I knew this one was going to have a lot of pictures and it was going to be hard to narrow it down, and it was. One of the things that I did to help with that was I made this photo grid, and I just made this in Photoshop, and it looks like I made it a little small, but that's okay. And I put 6 photos on there, so that was just a way to get a few more photos in. And then I added the white border because that way I can add a couple more photos, or let me see, like in this spread. I'm thinking I'm going to put maybe a photo right there, maybe this one, and then on this side I'm going to put a couple of photos like this. There we go. And then I have space for some journaling cards and a filler card and to tell my stories. So for this spread, I originally had planned to use the 6 storyteller kit from Ali Edwards, and I was super excited to do that, and I had planned an insert and everything, and then I saw kits from Coco Daisy that were super themed that would be perfect for this vacation. So the first one that came out was the Summer Avenue collection for June 2026, and that's what I'm going to end up using for this spread. There was also the Along the Path collection, which was so cute and perfect for like outdoorsy hiking, but I used that for our stop in Glacier National Park, which was the week prior, so I have a separate video for that one if you're interested in seeing it. This kit is all about like summer vacation and summer getaways, and I thought it would be perfect for Banff rather than the Along the Path collection, which would also have worked really well because this one's not totally outdoorsy, and this vacation, this stop, although it had a lot of outdoor stops because it is a national park, they have these beautiful lakes, there were also a lot of shops and that type of stuff, which didn't make a ton of my photos because I had to narrow it down so much. But I'm thinking I can use some of my journaling cards to kind of tell some of those additional stories. And then I also want to include, or I also plan to document this elsewhere. I will probably include a story in my stories album. So I had originally planned to do an insert with some longer journaling, and I think I'm going to do that in my stories album rather than put it in here because the kit didn't really coordinate perfectly, and that's totally fine. So I'm thinking I'm going to do this for an overview, and then I want to do a title card, maybe like this one, and then I can use the alphas on there. And like this would make a good filler. I need some journaling cards. So let's see, we've got, why not Father's Day? This has 6/26 for June 26, so that might be a good one to use. First days of summer, backyard barbecue. No, thinking this one's super cute, but seaside, we were lakeside. This would be a good filler card. I like both of those. This one would be maybe about like the towns and stuff. And that one could be a good journaling card. Also really like this one as a filler. I like, oh, there's just so many cute ones. Oh, summer 2026 vacation. So I need to use this one. I think that one can wait. And this one's also good. So I'm just looking at all of my options here. I also have this little tag thing, which I think would be good. I can put one on here, and that way I can add a little bit more journaling. So I need to think about the stories I want to tell. So we had 4 days here, which was more than I can really write about in this, but I'm thinking I can just do an overview there. This one I can do about that story. So I'm trying to think what, this is called the Icefields Parkway, and we did that on the 3rd day. And then we did Lake Louise and Moraine Lake on the 2nd day, which are a lot of these photos. We did this hike in the town on the 1st day, and then the 3rd day we did a separate town, Canmore, and some lounging. So I'm thinking maybe here I'm gonna journal about like our itinerary and like the few stops we had. And then I don't know that I need to this. I really like that one, but maybe I'll use this one, or actually this one to journal more about. Here, maybe I'll journal about the other 2 stops. So we stopped in Calgary on the way there, and then we stopped in Missoula on the way home. So maybe I will add that on here. I was thinking this one would be cute to cut out, but I also just don't want to add stuff on top of my photos. So I think I'm going to stick with it like that. And then we have these really cute letters that I'm thinking I can use to write the title on here. These are like these huge alpha stickers. So that's going to be super cute for that. And then I need to go through my embellishments to see what I want to add on top of some of my photos. Like this would be perfect for here. There's definitely a lot of options. So I'm going to actually go ahead and put you guys on voiceover so I can take my time to kind of figure out what I want to include where, start my journaling, and get this one put together. Okay, so I'm going to start with my title card, which is this really cute decorated 3x4 card, which is a perfect base for a title or journaling or an embellishment. There's a lot of things that you could just build on top of this. We got this sticker book this month, which has these super thin alphas, which are perfect for adding a large title. I sped this part up because a lot of it was kind of off camera. I was trying to get these lined up along the edge of a piece of acetate so I could center it. And I think it worked pretty well. I tend to do that with alpha stickers when I want to center them, but these ones are a little bit floppy and big, so it was a little bit rough to do it, but it worked. And then I'm adding my rolling date stamp. I love these big alphas, even though they are a little bit hard to center like that. They are super thin, so I could use them very easily in my journal, and I definitely plan to do that. We got them in black in a previous month. I think that was in February this year, so now I have them in black and navy. I'm super excited about that. Moving on to this journaling card here. So I talked about this in the intro, but this spread covers a couple of travel days and our time in Banff. So we were in Banff for 4 full days, and well, one of those days we went to Jasper, but those are the days that are pretty much documented in my photos. But we had 3 additional travel days that were covered by the date range of the spread, but not documented in any of the photos. So what I decided to do on this card was stamp out the date of each of those travel dates and just add a little bit of journaling about that date and what happened. So the first one was the day we drove to Banff, and we stopped in Calgary for a little bit. So that was like the first day of this spread. And then the other 2 were at the end. So one of them was the day we drove to Missoula from Banff, which is a pretty long drive. So that was the middle day there. And then the last day was the day we flew home from Missoula to our home in upstate New York, which we had to take a couple of flights and spent a lot of time in the airport, but that was basically that full day. So I wanted to include some documentation about that just because it was part of this spread, or the dates covered by this spread, and is part of my story for Project Life. I like to include an overview of everything that happens, so there's not really any gaps in the timeline. But I didn't have any photos from it because there were so many photos from this destination that I wanted to include. This photo here is from the Icefields Parkway. So after doing that first journaling card there, I want to figure out how I want to document the other 4 days. So one of the days, the 3rd day, we went on the Icefields Parkway, which is a parkway that connects Banff and Jasper. And there's a lot to see along that parkway. So I decided I had this photo I took out the front window of the car. I was not the one driving.
And I really liked how it looked. I thought it would be a fun way to kind of document that that's what we did that day. We basically spent the entire day in the car because it is a long drive. I think it's like 3.5 hours to get there and each way. So maybe it's 3.5 hours total, like there and back. It wasn't 7 hours in the car, but it was pretty much the whole day. And basically you stop like every 30 minutes or so to see a place. So there are some that have little hikes. There's some where you just get out and you can see a photo op. And there's just a lot of things to see. So I journaled about that on here, about our highlights from the day. And essentially what happened was then we got to Jasper, the town of Jasper, which is in Banff National Park, for lunch, and we visited a couple of shops, and then we turned around and came back. So it ended up being a very long day, but it was really nice, and I journaled about a couple of the highlights. So a few of the highlights from this were Peyto Lake, which I have a photo of me sitting in front of. It's like this super bright blue one. You can't see it right now because it's in the top right of the right-hand side of my spread. So it's a little off camera, but you'll see it eventually. And then the other one was we stopped at the Columbia Ice Fields, which was a glacier. So we were able to see a glacier up close, which was kind of neat because we had gone to Glacier National Park the week before and I wasn't able to see any glaciers up close. There were some up in the mountains that they pointed out, but I wasn't entirely sure what I was looking for. So this was really cool to be able to see one up close, and we had to kind of hike up to it. This chipboard piece says the open road, wander freely and take the scenic route, which was absolutely perfect for the Icefields Parkway. So I knew I had to make it work, but I struggled with it. I do end up coming back and putting it on that photo there that says 2006, which is a picture of the actual glacier. So the glacier is really cool to see in person. It wasn't very photogenic, but I did take that picture with that sign, which basically says the glacier was to there in 2006. And then it's been receding ever since, so you can see how far back it's gone for the past 20 years. I'm adding one of the die cut pieces on top of this photo grid that I made that just says Summertime Memories and or Summertime Adventures. It covers up a few or part of the photo, but that's okay. I'm happy with how that came out. Then I took this off camera for a second here because I had to put the photo of me and my boyfriend into the pocket. So that one is a photo of us in front of Lake Louise. I just have us covered with a sticky note because my boyfriend doesn't want to be on the internet, but you'll be able to see that at the end with his face blurred. So now I'm moving on to the left-hand side. This card here says our little getaway, and it has some places for you to fill in details. So I stamped out the word Banff for the place. And then I'm just writing out that we spent 4 full days and we got an Airbnb in the town of Banff for these like little questions at the top. And then on this card, I'm journaling generally about like why we went here and our overview of it. And then I'm also journaling about day 2 because day 2 was kind of like the highlight, like the big thing. We went to see Lake Louise and Moraine Lake, which are kind of the big attraction in Banff is Lake Louise, which is the photos on the top left of me sitting and the photo on the far left with like the super like teal water. And then the photo of me and my boyfriend is also in front of Lake Louise. The photo of me on the far left at the bottom next to the card that says Life Feels Lighter by the Water is me in front of Moraine Lake. So those were all from that day. And I wanted to kind of highlight that as kind of the highlight of the trip and or like kind of the reason we chose to go to Banff was to see those lakes, and journaled a little bit about that. And then I added one of the die cuts at the bottom. So now I'm on to the last journal card here, which says Summer Vacation 2026. And I really wanted to make sure I used this card because it said 2026 on it. Anything that's dated like that, I always want to make sure to use it first because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to use this in a future year. For this card here, I'm just filling in the final stories from the spread. So I already journaled about the day in Jasper, and I already journaled about the day going to Lake Louise and Moraine Lake, which were the second and third days. So now I need to journal about the first day and the last day. So I had a paragraph about the first day, a paragraph about the last day, and then at the end I did a paragraph just about the restaurants and stuff in Banff. I finally decided to commit to this chipboard piece because I really like it and it just fit the story so well. Even though it was a little bit big for this photo, I felt like this photo was a bit boring. I really wanted to include a photo of the glacier, but it really wasn't that photogenic. So adding that big chipboard on there was nice to kind of cover up some of the like dirty rocks and such. I decided to go through all of the chipboard pieces or die cut pieces and other embellishments and such from this kit just to see if there was anything else I wanted to add. I was struggling a little bit because there's so many cute pieces in this kit that I really wanted to use, but my photos were also so beautiful and I didn't want to cover up a lot of them. I did end up going with one die cut piece on the photo in the bottom left corner, which was the only photo I printed from day one, or at least the only photo that's not in that photo grid. That's from day one, which is the hike we took by some waterfalls. And I just really liked the way that that specific photo came out. Once I decided that I wasn't going to add any more pieces, I just slipped everything into the pocket and decided to call this one good. I'm super happy with how this one came out. I can't wait to document this trip in a little bit more detail in a travel album, but for now it's documented here and in my daily journal. If you're curious about my daily journal, I do have a separate video about travel journaling, which I will link in the description box below. Here's a look at that completed spread. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.